love in a hopeless place. I had that song in my head today. Pretzel. Come on, Pretzel. Pretzel's got some of my best music. Well, at least it's entertaining. There we are. Let's go. There we go. Some nice, good, chill music to sew by, right? Hello, pretty girl. So I've got a little bit of work to do on the husband's shoes, and then I am back to a few more things to do to start setting up. There we go. Pop out my chat just in case somebody decides to say hi. Hi, kitten. Yes, mommy loves you. Well, that's weird. Come on now, computer. Behave yourself. Chat is closed. Why is chat closed? Chat should not be closed. That's less than cool. There we go. There we go. That's better. Sorry, technical difficulties. I think I started before I was ready to start. Which is less than cool. Alright, I got a little more work to do on my prep for the sew along for Barb's bags. Let's rotate that picture. There we go. Much better. Alright, so I have to fix my husband's shoes a little bit because they started fraying. The tongue started fraying a little bit, so I was going to just toss some fray check on it and kill down some of the fraying on the edges. Because, you know, craftsmanship these days. I do this on my shoes on a regular basis, but I didn't do it this time around on his. So, we both got new shoes about the same time. I did it on mine, but I didn't snag his shoes. He's just a little bit rougher on his shoes than I am. So I'm just kind of tossing a little bit of fray check on the exposed seam, because these days, you know, things don't always last as long as we wish they would. That's shoe number 1. And shoe number 1 wasn't bad. It's shoe number 2 that's having the trouble. You should hear him. He like swore this morning. He was very, very upset. It's kind of funny, you know, in retrospect. So this is the one that actually has a wear point. A couple of them actually. So I'll kind of basically douse it in fray check, and then I'll come along later behind it and cut off the fuzzy. And that's what he was freaking out about this afternoon. So that's done. Is it just me, or do we always end up fixing everything for everyone? Okay, we are up to getting the non-pattern pieces cut out. And I'm so excited. I put in a new order for a new microphone. So like probably midstream we'll end up stopping and will break so that I can like put my new microphone into existence in my computer. So excited. Okay, so I'm looking at I don't think I've done any of the cut to measurements except for the strap and the zipper tabs. Did the zipper tabs. So interior zipper facing, interior zipper pocket, bottom firm, oh, and then the interfacing. So I just have interior zipper facing and pocket to finish out. So I need some 11-inch pieces. We're at 13, that means we go up to 14. I'm gonna have to watch a couple of places on this because it was taped together. A friend gave me this fabric and it was free, so I figured I might as well use it on something. Or I think I might have given her like $5 or taken her out to lunch or something like that, but it was given to me a long time ago and it was free. So I'm not gonna complain. And I actually have my heat press warming up today. So the power in my studio, so I have, my studio is actually one of the bedrooms in my townhome. So the power in my studio is fun because it's only set up to, you know, have a bedroom amount of power routed to it. So that means that life gets a little more interesting because I can only have my iron or my heat press on at one time. At least that's where we are at the moment. So that means that my heat press is on, which is the, you know, interface things quickly. But that also means I can't quickly get little wrinkles out of my fabric, which is the point I was trying to make. Okay. 111 by 2.5 and a couple of 7s. So we'll go up to 8. And that'll make a 7. And we'd go up to 15 and that'll make my other 7. And I need 2 of these. And then a 2.5. Oh, I can get it all out. I have the strap, I have the zipper tabs. I think that's everything. And I don't have to worry about these. I am going to circle those, however, since I'm looking at them, so I see them more readily next time I use this scrap of fabric. And I'll fold them out a bit. Yes, yes. Shush. Go. Those are out of the way. So these are interior zipper pockets. Interior zipper pockets. And interior zipper facing. Okay, so for the most part, everything's cut out. The only thing I have left are my interfacings. Now, this is a sew along, so I'll be doing 2 versions of this. So what I'm going to do is, because the cutting out the interfacing is boring to do online. So if you're joining me right now, I'm sorry, it's going to be boring in a few minutes, because all I'm going to be doing is cutting out a whole bunch of squares and shapes, and it's going to get boring quickly. So just so you know what's going on. I'll just be cutting a whole bunch of woven fuse as soon as I can get it up here. Thankfully, I have a whole bunch of woven fuse. There's a scrap and a whole bunch. So I'll see what I can do So I usually do pieces of interfacing for pockets and facings because nobody really sees the facings, but it should be interfaced because otherwise you're going to have a pocket that falls over. And I also need to find a place to move my quilt squares to because I'm in the middle of making a quilt for my step cousin's brother or something like that. And I have more interfacing in strips. It's weird how you just kind of get things. All of a sudden you have stuff. It's odd. So I have to move the fabric squares that are numbered according to color. So to take these out of on top of my heat press because that was the most convenient place to put them. Get that set aside. So that I can actually, oh, I made a baby bag, the Belle by Swoon. And that's the pattern I was using. Thankfully I put it all back together. Alright. Okay, so now this is a Teflon sheet. It's called a grill mat on Amazon in case you were curious. That's where I got mine from, and it's really nice to put so that the little extra glue pieces, the glue dots, don't get on your mat surface and they don't get attached to the iron plate. It's a lot easier when that happens. That way you can keep everything clean-ish or cleaner, keep everything surviving a bit longer. I'm also trying to finish up my lunch. So, you know, just a few things going on over here. Hey, at least I'm having fun, right? I really wish YouTube had a counter so I can see if anybody was actually paying attention. I think it actually does on my statistics page, but I can't actually see my statistic page right now because of the way I lay out. I have my stream program right there, and I have 2 monitors set up facing this way, and I have 1 monitor set up facing the other way, so when I want to play computer games I can. And so I have 2 monitors facing my prep table. I have my stream set up there, and then my other monitor's right here. So I have chat there, and I have the pattern there. So it's kind of difficult to see everything that's going on, and I have the statistics for my channel up at the same time. So we'll see. Hey, that's just wide enough and just long enough. That's beautiful. And I'm not too worried about getting the zip interfacing perfectly exact, like wide. This is the interfacing of this is just a little bit narrow, but it's going to be within the seam allowance, so I'm not too worried about that piece. I might need more water in there. No, it's doing okay. It just hasn't been used for a while. So that one will be done. So you're going to hear that beautiful sound a bit today. It's kind of psychedelic. Ba-da-dum. Ba-dum, ba-dum. I need to remember to cut 2 of everything, so I still need to cut another piece of interfacing that's big, so that I'm ready for the sew along, so that I can just interface that piece right away when we get to sewing. And that is paper scissors. Because during sew-alongs, in the cutout section, I like to talk about, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and that usually, I can talk about interfacing, but interfacing fabrics takes a good amount of time. And I don't like wasting other people's time. I don't like blank time space. So when I cut out this interior zipper facing for the sew-along pattern that I'm actually doing, I'll just grab this extra piece of interfacing and interface that piece right away, so that it's easier for everyone involved. So I'm picking up some of the smaller pieces that will need interfacing, because that's what I have, the smaller pieces of interfacing available right now. And so this says I need 2 to 4 interfacings per. I will need 4 for the other project, but I only need 2 for the one that I'm making as my test, or my pre-sew-along, I suppose. Because I'm using this really heavy vinyl for the pre-sew-along, so I don't really need an extra piece of interfacing against that. And I really should be working this with dots down. In this pattern, it doesn't really matter. So I'll try and remember to always cut the interfacing pieces that I'll need for the sew along first, so I get them taken care of and out of the way. And I always find that that little binding edge messes up some of the interfacing for some reason, and I don't know why. Probably because it's a little bit tighter a weave at that particular angle. Okay, so there's 2 of 4 that I'll need for the sew along. And normally I hate it when you're watching a tutorial video or you're doing something like a sew along and they say, and I've already pre-done this part. Well, normally I hate that. It's infuriating because you're like, well, you already did that part. That's great. I'd like to see how you did that part. But for this sew along, it's a longer event. And if someone is actually cutting out fabric with me, they'll probably be cutting out the interfacing at a different time, especially since there's a week between the videos. So I like do the sew along cutout session, and then there's a week until the next, until we actually start sewing. So that gives everyone time to either, cut out or finish cutting out or start cutting out, depending on, schedules. I know sometimes people think that's a lot of time between one and the other, but I think it's perfect. It works well for me, and since I'm leading it, I'm gonna take it. I need a second one of those, and then since I have a tiny piece right here, I'll use this guy to make 1.5 inches. Here's 1. Oh, we'll get 2. I need 4, but there's 2. And so those are the 2 that will, this black fabric was really fuzzy when I had originally gotten it. So here's a great example. So this interfacing is a little bit bigger than my fabric piece. And although I will cut it down, I don't want to cut it down any smaller than my fabric because my fabric is the right size. So what I'll do is I'll take this particular piece and this piece. See how there's a little interfacing off the edge there? I'll take these pieces and I'll put it so that this extra piece of interfacing is down towards my silicone mat. This guy. So I'll put it interfacing glue side down, and that means the glue will accidentally adhere to the mat, and it's really easy to get it off of the silicone mat. It just like run your nail across it and it comes straight off. It's harder to get it off of a fabric surface, which is why I'll do it like that, and I'll show you when it starts beeping that it will be a lot easier and better to work with when it's down like that. Okay, so I can't make any more of you guys. I know it's insanely loud. So, hot mat. Okay, so this time they didn't glue, but they also didn't stick to anything else, which means they didn't stick to my black plate, or my heat plate, which is basically the iron plate part, and they also didn't stick to the fabric part. So perfectly interfaced and no damage to anything else, which is kind of ideal. Okay, so those zip tabs are done, except I still need interfacing for them. Okay, I can't make any more of you guys, though I've made 2. I need 4 more. And this is not wide enough for that. I think I made this for a strap that I never ended up using because it isn't matched with any fabric right now. So, might as well use it. Doesn't fit with you. So we'll get you out of the way for a little while. My strap is needing interfacing, but this is 4" and my strap is a 6. So I think we're down to tiny more pieces. Let's see, I have one of these. 2 is needed. I don't need 2 for the I don't need 2 for the pattern I'm doing as my test, but I will need 2 for the pattern I'm doing as my actual sew along. See, a lot goes into these things. I tried to, and then all of this is learning curve. I tried to do the seat of my pants stuff and be like, oh, I'll just go on the video and I'll talk about what I do and I'll read the pattern as I go, and yeah, that leads to like really long confused pauses of, I don't know what this means. And even if I've done it, sometimes I sit there and I blank out on what in the world I'm supposed to be doing next, which is hilarious. I did that on the classic zip-around wallet. And I had done like 2 or 3 of them already. They'd come out great. Classic zip-around wallet was perfect. And I completely blanked out on a space. It was hilarious. In retrospect, it was hilarious anyway. In retrospect. Okay. So that one's done. The side connectors are 2 external times number 2 and 2 interfacings. Okay, I don't need it for the test, but I will need it for the reel. And the second one fit right next to it. Oh, it will. That's lovely. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Even if you're watching this afterwards, you can always ask in the comments. I do tend to respond. Sometimes I miss a comment for a little while, but I'm paying a lot more attention to my YouTube channel, so. There we go. So this is ready for my, debut. So I'm just making a pattern of those that are ready. We went and got McDonald's on the way back from getting some grid walls. I'm going to start doing some craft shows soon in the Chicago area. And we just picked up some grid wall from a woman whose mom used to do craft shows and who recently passed. So she was getting rid of them. And I was a bit excited. It doesn't really take a lot to get me excited about stuff. So this little corner of this particular interfacing is cut off. I'm not going to worry about it because I know what the zip tabs are for. And having a tiny corner of the zip tab cut off isn't going to be a big deal. Okay, let's see what other pieces we have to cut. So I have this pile of pattern pieces that are only my Betty Boop, which is my test run one. And this has to go in the other room. One moment, please. If I don't put this away now, it's been sitting on my prep table for like 4 or 5 days. And it's, you know, moisturizer that goes in my bedroom. Well, my bathroom and my bedroom. Take it off the prep table. And it's been infuriating me. Okay. So I'm kind of done with scrap pieces at this point. There's not really a lot I can do with scraps as far as I'm aware. I'm going to put this up there just in case. I still have a few more of this to do, but that's too big for anything that I have right now. So I have my main body, which is as well too big. I might be able to get some side panels out of that. Still a little too short there, but no. Well, my side panels are a bit too big for that too. So my exterior zipper pocket. My exterior zipper pocket I might splice. No, where's my other zipper pocket? My interior zipper pocket. You're in here somewhere. Front pocket needs real. You are a facing. Interior pockets. Those can be spliced together. And here's my strap. My strap won't notice, so I think I will actually use that big stuff over there. Okay, so I've kind of gotten an idea of what I can still do with the scraps that are left on my prep table. So I'll splice together a zip pocket, and I'll see what I can do about this facing. And I think I'll splice my facing too, because it's not anything that anyone's going to see. I just put a pencil in there. Oh, it's right there. I think I'm going to take a brighter colored pencil as far as the coordinating fabrics are concerned. So I'll end up splicing the test one, and I'll probably do 2 real cutouts of some of that. And again, I'll put the interfacing glue side down against my silicone mat. But it makes, like, quote-unquote ironings, the interfacing on so much easier. And I'll show you in just a moment why. It was one of my best 40 bucks ever spent. I was so happy when that happened. It's like, yes, $40? Sure. So it's going to do all of that. And let's see what else we can do. I can cut the 2 squares. And the 2 rectangles for the regular. Excuse me. And I think too much people, good heavens, too many people pay way too much attention about how, like, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have money to waste. But I think there's too much attention paid to, oh, this is a 1/4 of an inch off. I have to recut it or something like that. Because you can make that up in the seam allowances if you're paying attention. So I'm not too worried if I got the interfacing a tiny bit too narrow or a tiny bit too wide. I can make it up. Now I'm not going to, like, intentionally cut an inch or 2 too wide or anything like that, but I'm not going to freak out about, you know, a corner ripping. It's interfacing, it'll be fine. I do admit that I get the huge bulk interfacings from Barb, so you know, I have this like huge supply of interfacing. Okay, so there's the two that I'm going to use for the sew along. So here's the two splices that I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of figure out, okay, what pieces work well, what's going to work without, and give a tiny overlap. Get the center interface so you don't have to worry about it. There we go. So there's a good splice. And there's two. There we go. I just put that interfacing side down. And so this is where I'm not going to worry about that edge. I'm going to put this so it overlaps just a little bit onto the part that's already interfaced, and I'm not going to worry about that tiny little black part. It's probably going to be off the edge anyway. So here, that goes down. It's going to scream at me in a moment. And now these are done. Got some fuzzies on them because the fabric was fuzzy. I'll take care of that while sewing. And now this piece is done and ready for the sew along. All right. Take off that front edge. So I want to talk about using this Grill Mat / silicone mat. It has a texture on it, and I have a really horrible grade vinyl. It's a flannel back vinyl. I got it from Joann's. When you buy it, it smells horrible. It does. It just smells awful, like god awful, and I don't use that phrase lightly. But it aired out over a couple of months, but it has a texture. You know, it has like a leather-like texture on it, which is great because then I have a light leather. If I put this on top of the silicone mat, this vinyl will take up the texture of the silicone mat. Now, if I wanted a regular, the vinyl kind of has a crosshatch pattern to it. If I wanted my vinyl to have that crosshatch pattern, I would do that, but I don't. So this is the one of the few things that I will not use this mat to interface. I will also be very careful while I interface it because it can and will get a little pissy about getting hot. So when I interface it, I won't actually leave it down the whole time, and I will let it, as much as possible, cool between uses of putting the... So I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm going to let it cool while I work on another piece. And actually, I think I will put these down on the iron before I try and put the interfacing on it, so that I can have a flat piece to work on. And it only needs a moment. And it wants to curl up on that end, so I think I'll put my scissors over it to encourage it to not do that. Stop that. kind of want to use this for the strap first before I go using it for anything else. And so I've only put the interfacing down for a few moments, but it's already well adhered, and I still have the regular texture on this side. It gets a little, you always want to test, is what I'm trying to get at, is you want to make a test run with your vinyl before you try and do any adhering of interfacing. And for crying out loud, most don't need it. This one is really weak. It's a very light vinyl, and it's a very flannel back vinyl, and it's not, it doesn't need, it needs it, rather. It's not a very, it can't stand on its own, which is why I'm putting some interfacing on it. And unfortunately, when you heat it up, it smells a little. And when I did the interfacing just now, I didn't do the full width of the piece, so I'm going to have to send it back through the heat again, but I'm going to let it completely cool while it does that. And while I'm letting it completely cool, I'll work on the interfacing for this. So I don't want to hold still, I got too much to do. Anyone else hate that sound? I mean, there have been times where I accidentally left it on and went downstairs to like sit down and watch TV with the husband, and then all of a sudden, beep! So it's there for a good reason. I still don't like the sound. And that's the other thing I like about using a heat press like this, is I can be working on something else while it's actually doing the pressing part. So I don't actually have to try really hard. I think it's kind of pleasant. I'm trying to decide of how bad I want to patch this, because this one is going to show a little bit. I doubt anyone besides me would notice, but you know, I'm still going to notice. Let go. And that one stuck to the silicone mat just a little bit. Speaking of silicone, I did a tutorial on YouTube that talks about how to add silicone to fabric to make it waterproof so that you can waterproof your bags. Feel free to go watch that. I'm also going to be doing a live demonstration when I do the sew along for, not Barb, I'm doing a sew along for the Dragon Sling for XOXO Lauren. Kind of on the top of this one. So, you know, not overcommitting to anything, but it's fun. You only live one life, as far as I'm aware. And besides, I need to get prepped for the season. So doing more than one bag and getting a lot of things done is fun for me. That's a dragon sling, is pretty simple. It just kind of looks complicated. Okay, so here's the splice piece. And I can see there's a little bump where the interfacing is doubled over. So I know where it's doubled over, but I don't think anyone besides me would notice. And again, we're going to need a second piece like this or a second set of pieces like this for the real bag instead of just the test bag. Okay, so there's my second piece of the test bag. So those are done. Interior zip pocket. So they're done, but they're not done. So they have their interfacing, but I don't have the interfacing for the other piece. And I'll need to do that for the strap as well, which I finished, or didn't finish, which is right over here. So I decided to cut this guy in half, and that it should cover just fine, but we'll see. I mean, it is a 4-inch piece, and this is a 6-inch, so another 2 inches should be fine. And it looks like we should be good. And again, not using the silicone mat, and not leaving it in there for the full time. So one of my major dimensions is 11 inches. So what I'm going to do is, so this is the bolt that Barb gives us. I end up cutting, or folding it in half and then folding it in half again so I can get it on my mat. It doesn't necessarily yield a completely straight piece when I cut it like this, but it gets close, and a lot of times you can wiggle things around. So see how over here it isn't folded over completely well, but it is over here. So, no, I don't get perfect, but I get close. And with the interfacing, getting close is okay. And I'm actually going to cut the 11-inch piece, and then I'm going to cut a 2-inch long strip to work on that strap. And I don't think the strap for the one I'm actually doing is going to need any interfacing, because it's going to be canvas, so it should be fine without some interfacing, but we'll see. That is a judgment call I'll make day of, when I'm actually cutting it out. And I might have to cut out interfacing during, which is fine, it's just not ideal. Okay, let's see if we've cooled off. Looks like we've cooled off, and it looks like I can see where the joints of the interfacing are, but I doubt anyone else could besides me, and maybe you guys, if you're seriously looking for it. Well, keep in mind that this is also being folded over like 4 times, so the probability of seeing it anyway is pretty dang low. See how here, right here, it kind of recurves? And if I need to, I can kind of splice that open so it can fold over on itself. Not that big a deal. And again, the reason I love this heat press is I can make that work while I'm working. The next thing I'm going to do is cut this edge off. And again, there's some angles here that aren't ideal, but I can work with them. Okay. So this is the dimension for the interior pockets. that I had spliced together for that one. So this one's done. And that piece is done, so let's get out some more squares. There's some more of our smaller squares. And there's the leftover from doing the strap. And again, I'm not pressing anything that I don't have to. So a lot of the strap is laying over the edge because I don't need any more heat on that piece if I have a choice. So I don't need any interfacing on the bottoms for this one. I do for the lining for this one, and I will for both of the other ones. So I'm going to do 4 of these. Because I have 2 here, and I'll need 4 for the other pattern. So there's 2. And there's 4. So there's for the sew along pieces. And I see that I don't need it for these, because that's my bottoms for the regular, but I have not interfaced the lining for this particular piece yet. So I'll knock that out, and my strap is all interfaced. And, you know, it flows, you can see there's places where it flows over. And if you're looking, that is not an interfacing line. That's where one of the lines of pressing and went, and the other one didn't. This line right here is an interfacing line. This one is not. So it's just a fold line. And so I will just put you to bed. And I'll decide the strap part day of sew along. Oh, stretch. Needed that stretch. Okay, where's my mat? There you are. The only reason I flipped that fabric piece over is one side has been linen rollered and the other hasn't. And it's black, so it doesn't matter. So as soon as those are all pressed, that will be done. I have a side panel and exterior zipper pockets, neither of which have anything. Now this, one of the pieces was too big to fit on my mat, so I decided to leave it lay off a little bit. And let's see, side panel, 4 interfacings, so I need 8. And this needs to cool before I put the other piece of plastic on top of it. to say hi to a friend. She's kind of having a hard day. And I have a new microphone for my phone coming in, or for my stream coming in soon. So I'm all excited about that, and I posted that on Facebook in one of the sewing group, in Barb's Bags sewing group. And everybody is now exceedingly excited for me because this mic misbehaves on a quasi-regular basis. Okay, so I need 4 of these, so that's actually 8. So I need 2 for the exterior and 2 for lining of the side panels. So these are going to have to be solid pieces too. So my exterior for these is the black vinyl, flannel back vinyl. So I'm going to use these 2 for that, and I will take off my mat. Glue side towards the part you want to keep glued. And we'll get those pieces taken care of. And again, not leaving that down the whole time. I'm gonna let those clean or dry off and chill and cool off. That's the word I was looking for. Cool off. And this one of them had a little like fold mark in them, and now they don't. Okay, so now I'm kind of up to, there we go, shake out the interfacing. So now I'm up to a part where I really should be paying more attention to getting things straighter. But I'm also put to a point where I need to do pieces that are on the fold. So now is a perfect time to work with my interfacing here. And although I still have square pieces to do, I can always patch those with the various miscellaneous pieces that are hanging out over here. Because I had to refold this guy, I decided to kind of pick everything up and work on the pieces that are, see how I had to refold it and this came out? Now my edges up here match fairly closely. And I can work on things that have a fold in them. So here's a slip pocket, 2 lining, 2 interfacing. So that means I need 4 interfacings. And this is the other reason I like having this folded over 4 times. I really wish Barb could get these coming over at least on a fold instead of in one big sheet. But I get why she has to do it this way. Okay, so I want to do this on the fold as close to the edges as I can because I don't want to waste any fabric. So I'm going to keep this over here, and I'm going to find this as a fold. Fun, right? But it all depends on how badly you want to be fabric efficient. And I fairly badly want to be fabric efficient because I don't have money to throw around, and I really don't know a lot of people who do. So the next thing I'm going to do is make sure that my fold under here is actually pretty tight. Like layer 1 is right up against layer 2, so that I don't have those two layers. Since I'm cutting two out at the same time, I want that fold to be tight. And to keep it tight, I tend to clip. And I don't even like being this far away from the edge, but I also don't know how long I want to sit here and fiddle with it. So there's 2 here, there'll be 2 here. I need 2 for each pattern. I'm making 2 patterns, that's 4. For those of you non-math inclined. By the way, that includes me. I'm not a big fan of math. But you know, when the teacher said you'll use this one day, none of us realized how much geometry went into these things. Thankfully, the pattern designers usually do all the hard lifting, but sometimes we have our own heavy lifting to do. So I'm cutting out 2 of each pattern piece with each like little, so there's 2 there and there's 2 there because they're both folded over. And cutting interfacing is kind of boring for me because I like the designing phase and not the cutting phase. I don't mind cutting the fabric out because that's still part of the designing phase for me. But the cutting out gets really boring, at least in my mind. But I don't really know anyone who would. I mean, I'm going to do an internship for my niece over the summer. She's going to be cutting out all the fun bits. She'll also be designing her own, but that means I don't have to cut it out. There we go. So that's finally done. Ugh, I'm getting old. So let's see what else we got going on. So here's the 2 pieces for the test pattern. I hate that sound. I hate that sound. I hate that sound. Darn it. So I did a pencil line down so that I could line everything up and keep a good solid grid. And I was hoping you wouldn't be able to see it through the fabric with the interfacing down. And I can. The fun thing is I'm going to be doing some stitching on that, so I can stitch over that line with black, and so it won't show as badly. But it was one of those, oops. Now here's a perfect reason why I put my silicone mat down. When I put the interfacing down, I wasn't paying a lot of attention to make sure it was right where it should be on this pattern piece. And this extra silicone, this extra glue went onto the silicone mat instead of the fabric mat that the iron goes against. Okay, so there's the slip pocket and the slip pocket interfacing pieces for the sew along. So that one's done. Here is a front pocket. One exterior, one lining, and 2 interfacings. Okay, it looks like 2 will fit right there just fine. In this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually not fold it over because it's a small enough area and I don't want to mess it up. So if I try and fold it and then I have to worry about things moving and sliding on me, I'm just going to square off this top edge and do it piecemeal. And I need a bigger table. You hear me, husband? You know that table you've been promising me? Need now. And I'll do the other 2 right here. Maybe. I might do a square something or other right there. Because there is still some square pieces to cut out. And I'm right-handed, if you can't tell. And since I have these pieces available right now, I will interface these. And I didn't even try to cut this lining piece out like straight. I don't know, I guess I must have been tired at that point. And this one has the same pencil line down it. Let me see if I can get some of that off. Looks a little better. Before I go interfacing it and locking it in between the layers of fabric. Let's see if I can undo some of that. I mean, it's great to have a center line and all, but maybe not one so obvious on the other side of the fabric. It's better. When you lock, it won't lock in. It wasn't that big a deal with the other one, but this one doesn't have a stitch line down the center that I can mask it with. And I don't like recutting fabric. And I definitely don't like what happened with this fabric. Somehow the interfacing wrinkled. Let's see if I can get it on video for you. Yeah, there you go. See how that interfacing wrinkled? That's normally something I can get out with an iron, but again, my iron and my press can't share electricity. Yeah, I can see the line, but probably mostly because I'm looking for it. Let's see if I can get that wrinkle out. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. All better. Okay. So those are ready to go. I just need 2 interfacing pieces, and I actually need to draw a few lines. see if I can get sponsored by Bernina. I know I was searching their contact information. I didn't see anything about. There we go. So these will become foldovers on the pattern later. And all I'm doing is marking where the lines are. And to mark the interior of this angle right here, I literally put the pattern down. I hold my hand still over where the corner was, and I just move the pattern out of the way. And I make a tiny little dot. And then I make tiny little marks on the edge of the fabric where those are, and I connect the dots. There we go. Okay, so these two are ready. And we'll see about cutting out the next piece right here. But I think I have a square that's about the right size. That would do better. Yes. So let's see. I need 2 for that. I've done those. So I totally need 4 overall. And I have 2. So I need 8 overall. 4 for this pattern, 4 for the other pattern. And right now I have 2. So I need 6 more. Okay, so there's 2 left for this pattern, and I need 4 more. Come on, I go. I didn't put it glue side towards the fabric. That would have ended badly. Glue side towards the fabric. There we go. If you haven't used Barb's Bags interfacing, you don't know what you're missing, by the way. This Woven Fuse is amazing, and she's come out with the Woven Fuse 2, which is awesome as well. The Woven Fuse 2 is more rigid, and it's got a heavier hand to it. I really like the Woven Fuse, the original, but that's probably just because I've only played with Woven Fuse 2 a little bit. I liked it, but I only played with it a little bit, so I haven't played with it enough to like sing its absolute praises over all else. I like regular Woven Fuse at the moment. And it's what's working for my application at the moment as well. Okay, so now I have everything for the pre-sew-along bag. For that piece. But I have so many more. Okay, let's see what good size piece we can do next. Let's do the flap, which I need 4 interfacing for this pattern, so therefore I need 8 total for both patterns. And I don't want to accidentally cut my Bernina ruler because it's adorable. I got it at one of the C2E2 convention where I saw Lauren this last weekend. And thank you very much, Lauren, for reinvigorating my creativity. It's much appreciated. I'm talking about Lauren Mormino. She is the owner of More Me Know, as in MOREMEKNOW, because she decided to call her company that because no one could pronounce her last name. So, you know, makes sense. And she does a lot of streaming on Facebook. So there's 2. And there's 4. I didn't mean that message to be on all caps, but I guess that works. And why did my page get huge? No, I don't want to find. I want the page to be less big. Please. Thank you. There we go. There is 2. And this is why I'm glad I have a table that I can get at from multiple angles. I usually like working on a table that I can get at from at least 3. Unfortunately, this table I only have 2, but you know, I'll take what I can get. And the setup is pretty sweet, so shouldn't complain. I'm excited about my new mic. Kind of hard to think about. There we go. Okay, so I have 4 of these. I need 4 more. So I'm going to wait and see. I think I might actually be able to cut them this way. And again, best use out of my fabric that I can get at every given moment, because I only have so much money, just like everybody else. So I'll get these guys out of the way, and I'll see what else I can cut. I think I'll be able to get a few of these guys. You're just barely going to fit that way. And here's a zipper pocket, so you'll be fine. Okay. Okay, so I need 4 of you, and I don't have any. So I need 8 of you. Oh, this is the zipper pocket in the front. I was just lining everything up so I could cut it with my rotary cutter a little bit faster. So that'll be 2. This will be 4. And it isn't quite long enough, but it's pretty dang close. Enough that I'm going to roll with it. And there's 6. So that makes it a lot easier. And now I have to refold everybody because they're all getting excited about finally going into a project. And you guys will hang out for a little bit as soon as I find out where the black parts are. There's all my fabrics. Okay, so I have 4 of this. I need 4 more. One, 2, 3, 4. Come on, fabric. There we go. And these clips are also making sure that everything is right, is folded over well. So I've got a good solid fold there too. Because without that, we have some serious problems. Alright, so this will end up fixing the rest of this particular pattern piece. I'll still have to fuse the interfacing to the tester. But this will clean out the rest of this particular pattern piece, and this one will be done. There we go. And I will get the last exterior lining piece cut, or exterior pocket piece cut rather. Which will interface shortly as well. Sorry, as a percussionist, I like drums too much. Give me a good rhythm and I'm a happy woman. Alright, this one's done. Still have to do the adhesion. So we'll knock that out, along with the adhesion for the other piece we just finished. So there will be 2 sets that we keep for the sew along. Shashu. So that was it telling me that, hey, I've been on for a really long time and you haven't used me yet. Come use me. Yes, I remember. Yeah. Bop, bop. Bop, bop. Something feels weird. This lighting feels off. Like I'm getting a weird shadow from that end. I'm not used to that. Let me hit these. Now I don't have that weird shadow coming this way. But that was my sewing machine light. That I normally do have on. So I think I have to work on the lighting when I work on the microphone. I'm going to want to work on the color balance anyway. Because this is a vibrant red and almost a red orange, and you're seeing kind of more of a dark maroon. And that bothers me, because I don't want you guys thinking I have like no color coordination capabilities. There we go. Bop, bop. Bop, bop. Actually fold it that way. Actually won't fold it. And I still have a fleece piece to cut out for this. But interfacing is done. I have the fusing of these pieces to do. And you aren't finished. I just don't want to have to go over them and clean them up again. Okay, I'm keeping that. So I'm looking for the pieces that are longer so that I can keep them for the sew-alongs, or the pieces that look good. See, that one looks good. Because, you know, whether or not people are watching today is debatable. People will be watching when we do the sew-along. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy and adore you all. Yeah, I think those 4 will be beautiful for that. And I'll keep these 4 that have the extra leavings on the side. Let's see, how many more pieces do we have? Oh, we're almost done. We have the main body and that side panel and a couple pieces for the pocket. 1 pocket. Not too far. Sorry, I'm starting to feel pain in my feet, so I have to kind of take a look and establish where I am in the process. See how much further. Goodness gracious, all my English left. How much further I can get. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut these guys off with a quick little rotary blade. And those are a 1 at a time through the machine. So we'll send those through and we'll see what else I have. Still have this guy. Yeah, you'll fit there. So I have 2 more of you. I'll just move it down so I can get it onto the board. One day I will have a sewing prep table that is just as big as my mat. I bought a brand new huge mat. It's like 24 by 36. 24 by 36. And it's too big to fit on this table. I use it when I do my demonstration videos. Like the video I did for adding silicone to the fabric. But it really kind of annoyed me that I couldn't use it all the way to the edge. Which was the part that annoyed me, of course. done. You do not have anything else you need to get for you? I don't know where my cat went. What in the world? She's left me. She's probably sitting on the windowsill, absorbing all the sunlight she can get. Having, not been able to see the sun for a while, that whole winter thing going on. So this is the 2 for the sew-along.
Your audience must be impressed or you're wasting.
So that one's done. Let's see, what do we got next? We have the main body and some side panels. Okay, let's see what the main body looks like. For interfacing to foam. I think I'll be able to get 2 there and 1 here, and then 2 there and 1 there. And then I'll be able to eventually work down to being able to get that last piece in. There's 2. And we'll pull 1 out of this fold. Oops. So there's 4 total. And I need 8. So 2 of these pieces are the leather, the vinyl, the flannel back vinyl, and 2 of them are the lining for the interior. So that's what's going on there. give me 4, but I need 8. So close. No cigar smoking yet. And I think I'll put the 4 on that side, so I'll do 2 more on this side, and I'll use this to make the last side panel pieces, and then we'll be done. That means I can either prep the other sew along, because I'm doing one for the Dragon Sling backpack from XOXO Lauren, or I can start sewing this one, depending on my mood. So that one's done. Let go. Thank you. And this is actually the very end of the bolt. Hi, kitty. There you are. We were wondering where you went. Hi, kitten. What are you doing, little one? She's curling up behind my feet and her tail is hitting my pants. And it's a little distracting. It's alright, Mama's not mad at you. Yet. Hi, pretty girl. What are you doing? You silly little kitten. Okay, so that'll finish out this. I'll just need to interface it. Yes, Mommy needs to walk around you. Silly, silly kitten. I have to figure out what my husband's going to be doing when I go downstairs. He's either going to be asleep or playing Assassin's Creed, the video game. And I can't decide what I think he's going to be doing. And I keep like trying to bounce it around in my head, like, oh, he's probably playing. Well, I haven't really heard anything from him downstairs. That doesn't mean he isn't, playing a video game. He might be asleep. He might be playing a video game. I haven't made up my mind what I think he's actually doing. Whatever it is, he's probably having a good time. Sleeping is a good time in our family. And my interfacing is curling up a little bit because it got folded right there. And like I said, I was at the end of the bolt. So let me see if I can uncurl it a little bit by use of clips. Okay, so let's see if I can uncrease that fabric right there. And this one's got a huge crease in it right across there. And that's going to come out too. of course, the black has fuzzies on it. It's not like you can get the fuzzies out after you sew it. It's not easily. I had one hard time making this lint roller behave yesterday. Looks like it's doing it this time. There we go. Of course, this one has lint on it too. I thought I put the linty side in. And because I'll be doing the vinyl the next, I'll remove the silicone mat. Alright, where'd my spray bottle go this time? I have a spot that I hang it all the time, but it was being used by something else for a little while. And because the interfacing is at the very end of its life, this is the very end of the bolt, this piece is cut right next to the fold. And I can't work with it if it's folded right there because it won't get on the fabric right. So I had to spray it to get it flat, and I'm going to see if I can flatten out this crease before I put the interfacing on it. Just putting it under for a little bit will help. Oh yes, so much so. I think it's got a little bit of a crease on it still, but I kind of like having a bit of more character. There we go. So I'll put that through the same procedure. And again, there's a couple of folds going on here that are less than helpful. See if I can get these wrinkles out real quick. Because it basically turns into mildly pliable plastic when you put it under the heat press. So that's why I always put it on a flat surface as soon as I can, or I leave it over there and let it cool over there a little bit. Hi, kitten. I know Mommy is supposed to be sitting. Is it time for Mommy to sit? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Okay, hold on. I only have a little bit left. Is that okay? I have the side panels. I think I just have to cut out the other pieces for that. And so it comes out a little bit shinier because you kind of melted a little bit of the plastic, but I actually knew that was going to happen, and I don't mind that look at all. And I have to work around the cat because, you know, cats sit in the middle of your workspace to get attention. Don't worry, Mommy's not actually mad at you. Yet. I'm going to run the lint roller over that lining piece. There we go. And these two pieces on top. And the interfacing for the sew along. Okay. And I still have to get foam on that one and fleece on this one. Nothing for this. Not for the interior pocket. Lining, bottom, tiny pieces. Okay. I'm just left with these guys. I think I just need the 4 interfacing pieces. Yep. Just need 4 interfacing pieces for this, and we're done for the day. Well, at least for now. Sure, now you curl up on the kitty spot. And of course I cut on right at the fold, so these pieces. So the nice thing is the woven fuse can be kind of treated like woven fabric. When you spray it, it will calm down, and it will, in this case, unfold. That's why I had to go get my spray bottle a little earlier, because I needed to get that side pan, the interfacing for the piece I just cut a few moments ago, to uncoil. Alright. I only have the fleece and foam to finish out these guys. I think I'm going to take a break, go curl up with a husband, tell him how much I love him. I hope you have somebody to tell you love, even if it is feline or dog related. Have a great evening, and I'll see you again soon.